The average American home contains over 300,000 items, and we spend the equivalent of one full year of our lives just looking for things we've misplaced. Meanwhile, a Japanese housewife can clean her entire apartment in about 30 minutes a day, and the home stays perpetually spotless, not because she's a professional cleaner, not because she has some secret gadget, but because the entire system of her home is built on 12 deceptively simple habits that make mess and clutter almost impossible to accumulate. Some of these are so simple they'll shock you. Others are so genius you'll wonder why no one ever told you. And by the time you hear number 1, your entire concept of what a clean home even means will be completely transformed. This is a countdown of the 12 most powerful Japanese cleaning habits, starting with the ones you can implement in the next 5 minutes, and building toward the foundational rituals that will redesign your relationship with your own space. We're starting at number 12. Number 12. They remove their shoes at the door like it's a sacred law. In Japan, the Jenkin is not just an entryway. It is a barrier, a line of demarcation between the dirty, chaotic outside world and the pristine, peaceful interior of the home. Stepping into a Japanese house with your outdoor shoes on is, culturally speaking, roughly equivalent to walking into someone's living room and spitting on the floor. It's simply not done. And the logic behind it is so brutally obvious that it makes you wonder why we ever do it any other way. Because your shoes are quite literally the filthiest object you own. A study from the University of Arizona found that the average pair of shoes carries over 420,000 units of bacteria, including fecal matter, E. coli, and all manner of pathogens picked up from public restrooms, sidewalks, and wherever else your feet have traveled. And we track that directly onto the carpets where our children play and the bathroom floor where we walk barefoot after a shower. The Japanese Jenkins system eliminates this entirely. The entrance area is recessed, physically lower than the rest of the house, usually a small square of tile or stone that sits a few inches below the wooden flooring of the living space, and this architectural detail serves a psychological function. It visually and viscerally reminds you that you are crossing a boundary. You can feel the change under your soles. You step up from the cool, hard Jenkin onto the warm, softer floor of the interior, and the dirt stays below you. It's a ritual I witnessed countless times when I lived in Tokyo. You slide open the door, you call out "Tadaima, I'm home." You slip off your shoes. You turn them so the toes point outward toward the door, ready for your departure, and you place your feet into the house slippers waiting for you. The act itself takes maybe 7 seconds, and yet it prevents hours of vacuuming and mopping every single week. When I returned to the United States and started enforcing a strict no-shoes policy in my own apartment, the difference in my floor cleanliness was measurable within 3 days. I could walk across the living room in white socks and they stayed white. The dust bunnies that used to form under the sofa disappeared. The grime near the entryway, that grayish film that somehow always collected, vanished. But I will offer one small caution, born from my own embarrassment. The first week, I nearly slipped twice because I was walking around in just socks on the hardwood, and my 2-year-old niece almost tumbled chasing the cat. House slippers with a non-slip sole are not optional, they are essential. And they need to be washed regularly, maybe once every 2 weeks, because they pick up the oils and dead skin from your feet. So try it tonight. Place a small shoe rack by your front door, buy a couple pairs of comfortable, washable house slippers with a gripping bottom, and make the rule non-negotiable. You're not being fussy, you're just finally using your brain. Number 11. They use separate toilet slippers to create a hygiene boundary you can feel. This one sounds bizarre to Western ears, I admit it. I remember the first time I visited a friend's apartment in Osaka and saw a pair of little plastic slippers sitting right inside the bathroom door. labeled with a cute cartoon character, a little bear holding a flower. I assumed it was just a decorative quirk, maybe a cozy touch like a bath mat. But then my friend explained the logic, and my entire understanding of household hygiene snapped into sharp focus. The bathroom, no matter how often you clean it, is a zone of concentrated bacteria. Even a toilet that looks sparkling clean harbors germs that you absolutely do not want to track across your kitchen floor, your bedroom carpet, or the couch where you eat popcorn. So Japanese households often have a dedicated pair of slippers that live exclusively inside the bathroom. They are usually made of plastic or rubber, easy to wipe down, and they sit on a tiny mat just inside the threshold. You step out of your house slippers at the bathroom door. Leaving them facing the hallway, slide your feet into the toilet slippers. Do what you need to do, and then switch back when you exit. The boundary is absolute. The germs stay contained, a fascinating detail by the way. One of the classic, almost comedic markers of a foreign guest in a Japanese home is that they will inevitably forget to remove the toilet slippers and walk back into the living room wearing them, often not noticing until a Japanese host gently points it out with a suppressed smile. It's a small, forgivable mistake, but every Japanese person notices it instantly. It's just not part of their mental framework. The bathroom slippers belong to the bathroom. Period. And if you implement this at home, you will start to feel that psychological shift yourself. The simple act of switching shoes creates a mindfulness about contamination that you never knew you were missing. A word of honest caution here. If you have a very small bathroom, a powder room where the door swings inward and the space is tight, the slippers can become a tripping hazard. Make sure they have a dedicated little corner and that everyone in the household knows the drill. I taped a small sign on the inside of my bathroom door for the first month that said, "Slippers," just to train my brain. It takes no extra time, costs almost nothing, and creates a layer of protection that your bare or socked feet simply cannot offer. Number 10. They wipe down the toilet almost every single day, and it takes less than 60 seconds. Now I know what you're thinking. You do not want to clean your toilet every day. Neither did I. The very phrase daily toilet cleaning conjures an image of rubber gloves, harsh chemical smells, and a solid 20 minutes of scrubbing. But that is not what the Japanese do. What they practice is a ridiculously quick, preventative wipe down that renders the deep clean almost unnecessary. Many Japanese households keep a package of disposable cleaning sheets, often lightly moistened with disinfectant or even just a mild soap solution, stored right next to the toilet in a slim plastic container. And once a day, usually at the end of the evening or first thing in the morning, someone takes a single sheet and spends roughly 45 seconds wiping the seat, the rim, and the outer surface of the bowl. That's it, no buckets, no bleach, no heavy lifting. The result is that grime and buildup never get a chance to form. You know that faint ring that starts to develop inside the bowl after 2 or 3 days of neglect? It never appears. The dust that settles on the tank and the base never accumulates. The toilet stays perpetually fresh, and the thought of a massive, dreaded bathroom cleaning session simply evaporates from your mental to-do list. When I started doing this, I was shocked at how much psychological resistance I had to overcome, and equally shocked at how trivial the actual task was. I distinctly remember standing there with the wipe in my hand, delaying, because my brain was screaming that this was a heavy chore, and then realizing I was done before the thought even completed. The whole thing was over in less time than it takes to scroll through a few social media posts. My whole life I'd let the toilet become a project, a thing to steel myself against, when in reality it could be a non-event. A small honest note. If you use a disinfectant wipe, make sure it's compatible with your toilet's surface glaze. because some harsh chemicals can slowly eat away the protective coating and make the porcelain more porous and prone to staining over time. A damp microfiber cloth with a drop of mild dish soap works just as well. Try placing a container of wipes or a stack of small folded cloths on the back of your toilet tonight. Tomorrow morning, wipe it down for 45 seconds. You will feel a strange, disproportionate sense of accomplishment before you've even had your coffee. Number 9. They practice Zock and Gake, the ritual of cleaning the floor by hand. Of all the habits on this list, this is the one that probably seems most foreign, most antiquated, and honestly, most unnecessary to the modern Western mind that loves its robot vacuums and steam mops. But hear me out, because Zock and Gake is not just about cleaning the floor. It is about seeing the floor. In many Japanese schools, children are taught to push a damp cloth, the zaken, across the classroom floor on their hands and knees. They do it every day, often after lunch, moving in a coordinated line across the room, and the sound is something you never forget. A soft, rhythmic shhshhshh of damp cotton on polished wood. And this posture, this proximity to the ground, changes everything. When you are standing upright pushing a mop, you see the floor at a distance. You see the broad, obvious messes. But when you are down on your knees, your eyes are maybe 18 inches from the surface. And you see every single speck of dust, every forgotten crumb under the edge of the cabinet, every small stain that you've been walking past for weeks without noticing. You can feel the temperature of the floorboards through your palms. You can smell the faint, clean scent of the damp cloth activating the wood. I tried this in my own kitchen after reading about it. I got down on my hands and knees with a damp microfiber cloth, folded into a neat rectangle, and within 30 seconds I was horrified. Not because my floor was filthy, I'd mopped it just 2 days prior, but because I was suddenly seeing a level of detail I'd been blind to. There was a tiny sticky spot near the trash can where something had dripped. A droplet of soy sauce from 2 nights before that had dried into a tacky resin. There was a collection of fine dust against the baseboard that the mop had simply pushed aside and compacted into a thin gray line. There were 3 stray cat food kibbles under the lip of the cabinet. The physical act of getting low, of using your hands instead of a long pole, connects you to your home in a way that is hard to describe until you do it. It cultivates a sort of humility and a meticulousness. A honest caution: if you have knee pain or arthritis, do not do this on hard floors without a cushioned kneeling pad. It is not worth the injury. You can adapt the practice by sitting on a low stool with a long-handled flat cloth, getting your eyes as close to the surface as you safely can. And you don't need to do your whole house this way every day. Even just doing a small section, like the kitchen floor around the stove and sink, once or twice a week, will elevate your awareness of what clean actually means in that room. Number 8. They sort their trash with a meticulousness that borders on the spiritual. If you've ever stayed in a Japanese home, or even just visited a public trash station in Tokyo, you know that waste disposal in Japan is a completely different animal than it is in the West. We might have a bin for recycling and a bin for trash, and we pat ourselves on the back for being environmentally conscious. In Japan, the sorting regimen can include burnable, non-burnable, plastics, PET bottles, glass bottles, aluminum cans, paper, cardboard, and oversized items, each with its own collection day, its own specific bag, and its own set of rules for preparation. You don't just toss a PET bottle into a blue bin. You remove the cap, which goes into the plastics bin. You peel off the label, which also goes into plastics if it's a certain material. You rinse the bottle, you crush it, and then you place it in the designated PET collection bag. The bags themselves are often transparent, so the collectors can verify the contents. It sounds exhausting, but the ancillary benefit for your home is profound. when you are sorting your waste this meticulously. You become acutely aware of the sheer volume of packaging you bring into your house. You start to see every piece of plastic and paper as an object that must be dealt with, cleaned, and categorized. This naturally, almost subconsciously, reduces your consumption. You start favoring products with less packaging simply because it's less work. And inside your kitchen, the trash area never smells. Why? Because organic, burnable waste is separated immediately and often stored in a small, covered bin that is emptied frequently, sometimes daily, into the larger outdoor collection container. There is no giant, week-old bag of mixed garbage festering under your sink, with coffee grounds leaking onto a cardboard box and creating that distinctive sour kitchen odor. If you want to bring just a sliver of this into your home, start with a simple two-bin system under your sink. One for food waste and soiled paper, and one for everything else that must be kept clean, like plastics and metals. A small honest tip: in the beginning you will mess up the sorting. A yogurt lid will end up in the wrong bin, and you'll have to fish it out. Do not let the perfectionism paralyze you. The habit is more important than the flawless execution. The moment you separate the smelly stuff from the clean stuff, your kitchen will smell better, and your relationship with your own garbage will fundamentally shift. Number 7. They follow the 1-minute rule with religious devotion. I want you to do a quick mental scan of your home right now. In your line of sight, are there shoes on the floor? A coffee cup on the coffee table? A jacket draped over a chair? A piece of mail unopened on the counter? A dish in the sink? Now ask yourself honestly, how long would it take you to put those shoes on the rack? 10 seconds. How long to hang up the jacket? 15 seconds. To wash that single cup? Maybe 45 seconds. The Japanese have internalized a principle, so simple it feels almost insulting to call it a technique. If a task can be completed in less than 1 minute, you do it immediately right now, the moment you notice it. You do not put it on a mental list. You do not tell yourself you'll get to it later. You act. This is not a cleaning hack. This is a cognitive load reduction system. Every single tiny unfinished task that you leave in your visual field is a drain on your mental energy. Your brain registers it, files it as something to be dealt with, and that open loop quietly stresses you out all day, even if you're not consciously thinking about it. A tidy Japanese home is not the result of marathon cleaning sessions. It's the result of 1,000 micro decisions every day, where the person chose the 45-second fix over the 0-second delay. When I forced myself to adopt this rule for just 1 week, my apartment looked like a completely different space by Friday. And I had done no major cleaning. I had simply stopped leaving little messes in my wake. The jacket got hung up. The cup got rinsed. The mail got opened, read, and either filed or shredded immediately. The cumulative effect on your environment is staggering. I do want to offer one honest word of warning, though, because when I first started, I became a little obsessive. I was interrupting conversations to put away a stray pen. I was leaping up from the dinner table to wipe a crumb. And my partner at the time felt, understandably, that I was prioritizing the cleaning over the moment. The 1-minute rule is meant to reduce stress, not to turn you into a jumpy neat freak. So find the rhythm. If you are in the middle of a deep conversation, let the cup sit for 10 more minutes. The spirit of the rule is that you do it promptly, not that you derail your life for a dust mote. Try it for the next hour. Every time you leave a room, scan for a 1-minute task and do it. You will feel a sense of control you haven't felt in years. Number 6. They cover their bathtub after every use, and the entire bathroom transforms. This is one of those habits that, once explained, makes you feel foolish for not having thought of it yourself. In Japan, the deep soaking tub known as the ofuro is not just a place to get clean. It's a place of ritualized relaxation, And the water is often shared by multiple family members throughout the evening because everyone thoroughly washes and rinses their body before even stepping foot in the tub. The water itself stays clean, but that's not the habit I'm talking about. The habit is the lid. After the last person has bathed, a large insulated cover, often made of lightweight plastic panels, is placed over the tub, and it stays there until the bath is used again. The lid itself is usually folding accordion style, and when I first touched one, I remember being surprised by how light it was, yet how perfectly it sealed the perimeter. Why is this so brilliant? 3 reasons. First, it dramatically reduces humidity in the bathroom. Without that lid, the hot water evaporates into the room, condensing on the walls, the ceiling, the mirror, and creating the perfect warm, moist environment for mold and mildew to explode. A 2017 study from the Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology found that bathroom humidity levels can drop by up to 40% simply by covering a standing body of water. Second, it keeps heat in, so if someone wants to bathe a few hours later, the water is still warm, saving energy. Third, and most relevant to our topic, it prevents dust, hair, and airborne particles from settling on the surface of the water during the night. Now, you probably don't have a traditional Japanese ofuro with a custom lid, but you can apply the same principle in the microscopic moments after your shower. Close the shower curtain fully, not half-bunched, so it can dry without bunching up and breeding mildew in the folds. Give it a gentle tug so the whole panel is spread out. Squeegee the walls, a 10-second task that removes the water that would otherwise evaporate and become future mold. I keep a small rubber squeegee hanging from a suction hook right against the tile, and after every single shower, I pull it across the walls in 3 smooth strokes. The water shears off in a clear sheet, and the walls are left nearly dry to the touch. If you have a bathtub, simply closing the shower curtain and ensuring the bathroom fan runs for 20 minutes will mimic the effect. A quick caution: if you have a poorly ventilated bathroom with no fan, that moisture has to go somewhere, so crack a window or run a dehumidifier. Standing humidity is your enemy. The Japanese mindset is this: water is an ally in cleaning, but standing water is an enemy that negotiates with fungi. Eliminate the standing water or cover it, and your bathroom stops fighting against you. Number 5. They assign every single object a designated home, and the object is returned there immediately. Walk into a Japanese kitchen, and you will not see a toaster on the counter. You will likely not see a spice rack. You will not see a knife block. The counters are bare. Why? Because the toaster lives in a specific cabinet, a low pull-out shelf designed exactly for it. The spices are in a drawer, organized in matching jars with labels facing up. The knives are on a magnetic strip inside the pantry, or in a drawer with a bamboo divider. Every single item, from the TV remote to the sewing scissors to the children's homework, has an assigned place, and the entire household is trained to return it to that place the moment it's done being used. This concept, sometimes linked to the philosophy of Danshari, which we will discuss shortly, eliminates about 80% of household clutter instantly. You know that visual noise you live with. The stack of papers on the dining table that migrated from the kitchen counter, that originally came from the mail pile by the door. That happens because those papers don't have a true home. They have a series of temporary landing spots that slowly become permanent fixtures. I once spent an afternoon with a Japanese friend, helping her reorganize her tiny Tokyo apartment. And I asked her where I should put a stray pen. She looked at me like I'd asked where to put a live tarantula. What do you mean, where? It goes in the pen drawer, of course. There was a pen drawer. It was a shallow, velvet-lined drawer in the living room console. And inside were exactly 4 pens, a pencil, and a small pair of scissors, each in its own little compartment. The pens had a home. The scissors had a home. The charging cables, coiled neatly and secured with a Velcro tie, had a home. The extra batteries were in a small lidded box in the hallway closet, taped shut with a label that read AA in neat handwriting. The decision of where to put something was never a decision. It was pure reflex. Try this exercise tomorrow. Pick up every single item that is sitting on a flat surface in your living room or kitchen, and ask yourself a brutally honest question. Does this item have a designated spot where it belongs that is not just some flat surface? If the answer is no, create one. A small tray for the remotes, a hook for the keys, a basket for the mail, and then, and this is the critical part, practice the discipline of returning it. A realistic caution. If you live with a partner or children, do not expect them to memorize all the homes overnight. Labeling the shelves and drawers with a small piece of washi tape and a marker can save your sanity during the transition. It will feel tedious for 3 days. By day 4, it will feel automatic. By day 7, your home will look like a minimalist showroom, and you will have done nothing but put things back where they belong. Number 4. They treat flat surfaces as sacred spaces, not storage zones. This habit is an extension of the last, but it deserves its own spotlight because it addresses the insidious Western disease of the flat surface. You know exactly what I mean. The kitchen counter that starts clean and within 48 hours has accumulated a stack of mail, a pair of sunglasses, a stray battery, a half-eaten bag of chips, a random receipt, and a spatula that never made it back into the drawer. The dining table that is perpetually 1/3 covered in projects you'll get to later. Maybe a sewing kit you haven't touched in 3 months. Maybe a pile of catalogs. The top of the dresser that is a graveyard for loose change and old receipts from 2019. We treat any horizontal plane as a perfectly acceptable temporary holding zone. And temporary for us means potentially permanent. In a Japanese home, the default state of a counter, a table, a desk is empty. The visual field is clear. This is not because they have fewer things, though they often do. It's because they have a cultural allergy to the idea of leaving something out just in case. If you are done with the scissors, they don't sit on the desk. They go home to the drawer. If the mail has been read, it is either actioned, filed, or recycled. It does not sit on the counter. I remember walking into my apartment in Kyoto after a particularly chaotic week and realizing that my tiny kitchen counter had become a staging area for clutter. There was a stack of unread flyers, a half-empty bottle of cooking oil, and a small plant that had died because I kept forgetting to water it, and its crisp brown leaves were scattered across the surface. I felt a distinct physical sense of stress the moment I walked in the door. My shoulders tensed, my breath became shallow. That's when I understood something that researchers at UCLA's Center on Everyday Lives and Families have documented. The density of objects in your visual field directly correlates with your cortisol levels, especially in women. A cluttered home is a stressful home, full stop. The Japanese solution is radical simplicity. Clear your flat surfaces completely. Tonight, every single thing on your kitchen counter goes into a box. Over the next week, only take an item out of the box when you actually use it. After 1 week, anything still in the box either gets a proper home or leaves your house forever. A word of genuine caution. If you have a small appliance you use weekly, like a blender, do not bury it in a hard-to-reach cabinet. The rule is not about making your life inconvenient. It's about eliminating the things that don't need to be out. The blender you use every Sunday morning deserves an easily accessible home. Perhaps a slide-out shelf right at counter height. Your counter is not a storage unit, it's a workspace. Treat it like one. Number 3. They embrace the philosophy of danshari, a radical refusal to keep what does not serve them. We have all heard of decluttering. Marie Kondo made a global empire out of the question of whether your socks spark joy. But the Japanese concept of danshari goes deeper, and it's more aggressive. The word itself is a composite of three characters. Dan meaning refusal, sha meaning disposing, and rai meaning separation. It is not just about tidying. It is about refusing to let meaningless objects into your life in the first place, actively disposing of what no longer serves you, and ultimately separating yourself from the attachment to material possessions. This is the philosophical engine that makes the perpetually clean Japanese home possible. If you practice danshari, you simply do not have enough stuff for the house to become cluttered. There is no stack of old magazines because you refuse the subscription. There is no closet bursting with clothes you never wear because you have ruthlessly disposed of anything that doesn't fit or please you right now, today. Japanese homes often feel larger than they are, even 500 square foot apartments, because every cubic foot of storage is deliberately managed. I had a conversation with a Japanese woman in her 60s who told me she owned exactly 5 plates, 5 bowls, and 5 cups. That was it. She showed me her kitchen cupboard, and it was a sight I will never forget. A single neat stack of 5 white ceramic plates, a smaller stack of 5 matching bowls, and a row of 5 cups, each separated by a sliver of air. Nothing else. When I asked what she did when she had guests, she said she borrowed from her neighbor or rented what she needed. The idea of storing 12 place settings for a hypothetical dinner party that happens once a year was, to her, an absurd burden. Every object you own demands something from you. It demands space. It demands dusting. It demands mental energy. It demands maintenance. The Japanese ask themselves, is this object worth the rent it charges to live in my home? If it's not, it goes. Now I want to offer an honest caution here, because I have seen people, myself included, get overzealous with this and throw away something they genuinely needed 2 weeks later. Danshari is not a race to see how little you can own. It is a practice of mindful curation. So before you toss that specialty kitchen tool or that backup pair of work shoes, pause. If it serves a real, recurring purpose, it stays. The rule of thumb I learned from a friend in Osaka is, if you have not used it in a full cycle of seasons, and it does not hold profound sentimental value, then it is a candidate for removal. Try this. Open your kitchen cabinet and look at your mugs. How many do you actually use? Probably 3, maybe 4. The rest are taking up space, ones you never reach for because they are chipped or too small or a souvenir from somewhere you barely remember. Pick them up, thank them if you must, as the KonMari method suggests, and then donate them. Tonight, feel the lightness that follows the departure of objects that were only ever in your way. Number 2. They perform a daily micro-reset, usually in the evening, that closes the day. This is the habit that ties all the others together. It's the quiet ritual, often lasting no more than 10 or 15 minutes. That ensures the home is resting, in a state of order when the household goes to sleep. In many Japanese families, the evening micro-reset is as routine as brushing teeth. The dishes are done, and the sink is wiped dry with a dedicated cloth that hangs on a small hook beneath the counter. The counters are cleared, the remotes are placed in their tray, the sofa cushions are fluffed, and the throw blankets are folded neatly over the armrest. The bathroom sink is given a quick wipe with the hand towel that's about to go in the laundry. The toys are returned to their baskets, the shoes in the jenkin are straightened, toes pointing out. The lights are turned off, and the home is left in a state of peace. The air itself seems to settle. The psychological benefit of this cannot be overstated. Waking up to a mess is demoralizing. You start your day already behind, already fighting the entropy of your environment. But waking up to a clean, ordered space is like a gift to your future self. The coffee tastes better, the morning feels more expansive. You are not greeted by the visual noise of yesterday's chaos. I started doing this after reading about the Japanese concept of shimatsu, which essentially means putting things in order and tying up loose ends. The day is not over until the space is restored. When I first tried it, I was exhausted, and the last thing I wanted to do was wipe down the kitchen counters at 10 p.m. But I did it anyway, a quick 5-minute swoop, and the next morning, when I walked into that spotless kitchen, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. I felt like an adult who had her life together. The morning light came through the window and hit a clean counter, reflecting off the polished surface, and it was such a small, quiet victory that colored the entire rest of my day. Try it tonight, my friend. Before you go to bed, do a 10-minute sweep of your main living area. Put things back. Wipe things down. You are not cleaning, you are tucking your home in for the night. A tiny note of honesty. On nights when you are truly exhausted, sick, or grieving, the micro-reset can be a 5-second version. Just clear one surface. Just put the remote in its place. The ritual is meant to support you, not punish you. Tomorrow morning, you will thank the version of you who did the work tonight. And finally, number 1. They perform asoji, the great annual deep clean that is less about dirt and more about renewal. If you only take one habit from this entire list, let it be this one. Asoji is the Japanese tradition of deep cleaning the entire home at the end of the year, typically in late December, to purify the space before the new year. This is not casual tidying. This is pulling out the refrigerator and cleaning the coils and the dusty floor beneath. This is wiping down every single slat of the blinds with a damp cloth until the water runs clear. This is emptying every cabinet, discarding what's no longer needed, and washing the shelves themselves with a mild solution. This is scrubbing the jenkin with a stiff brush, cleaning the ventilation filters of the range hood, washing the windows inside and out until they are streakless, and purging the closets of anything that sat untouched all year. In a traditional Shinto context, asoji is a spiritual practice. It's about cleansing the home of the accumulated dust and spiritual impurities of the outgoing year, so that the Tashigami, the Shinto deity of the new year, can visit a clean and welcoming space. The home is being prepared for a sacred guest. Now, you may not participate in Shinto traditions, but the psychological architecture of asoji is universally applicable and desperately needed in the West. We tend to deep clean only when a guest is coming, a mother-in-law visiting, a dinner party planned, and the cleaning is done in a panic. It's reactive, stressful, and shame-driven. Asoji is the opposite. It's proactive and it's scheduled. It's a date on the calendar that you know is coming, a yearly ritual of resetting your sanctuary. I adopted this habit in my own life, choosing the week between Christmas and New Year's, a time when the world is quiet anyway, and dedicating 3 full days to the purge. I go room by room, starting at the back of the apartment and moving toward the front door, which is a traditional sequence meant to symbolically push out the old energy. I play music, sometimes instrumental koto music to keep the mood calm. I work thoroughly and slowly, not in a frenzy. I fill trash bags, I donate boxes, I scrub grout lines with a small brush. By the time the calendar flips, my home is not just clean, it is reborn. Every drawer opens smoothly to reveal order, every surface shines. The air itself feels lighter. I will offer one practical caution for the Western practitioner. Do not attempt the entire asoji in one day, unless your home is very small. Pacing is everything. The tradition is meant to be methodical, not a marathon of exhaustion. Give yourself a weekend, or even 2 weekends, and plan the zones in advance. Starting the year in a profoundly clean home rewires your brain for the months ahead. It sets a standard. It tells your subconscious that this is how we live now. Try it. Mark a weekend on your calendar. 2 months from now, maybe 3. Dedicate it to your own asoji. It is the single most powerful gift you will ever give to your home and to your own peace of mind, because that's the secret thread running through all 12 of these habits. A clean Japanese home is not the product of a massive cleaning industry or a population with more free time. The Japanese work some of the longest hours on Earth. It's not that. It's that cleaning is not an event. It's not a dreaded chore you postpone until Saturday and then spend 4 hours resentfully doing. It's a series of tiny, embedded, non-negotiable rituals. The shoes come off. The toilet gets a 45-second wipe. The cup goes in the dishwasher immediately. The home is restored before bed. The year is closed with a deep, respectful purge. This is the system. And the system works reliably, every single day, regardless of how tired you are. Because it's built into the very fabric of daily life. You don't need a bigger house. You don't need a professional organizer. You just need to adopt the quiet, brilliant, ancient habits of a culture that has turned the maintenance of space into something approaching an art form. Your home is waiting. Start with number 12 tonight. Take off your shoes. Breathe and begin.